The massive alien ship emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Its sleek, crystalline surface reflected the distant sunlight as it glided past Neptune's orbit. Inside the vessel, Fleet Commander Ross of the Stellar Confederation stood watching the main viewscreen, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he studied the third planet from the Sun. "Status report," he ordered, his translator converting his chittering speech into the standard language of the Confederation. "Scans indicate a developing civilization, Commander," replied Science Officer Miller, her tentacles dancing across the holographic controls. "Technology level suggests they're in their early space age. Primitive satellites orbit their world, and we detect regular transmissions across their electromagnetic spectrum." The Confederation had spent centuries mapping and cataloging habitable worlds across the galaxy. Earth had been marked as a potential candidate for first contact, meeting most of their criteria for peaceful integration into the galactic community. Commander Ross felt honored to lead this historic mission. "Begin standard approach protocol," he commanded. "Establish orbit at the recommended distance and prepare the first contact package." As their ship crossed Mars' orbit, the sensors began picking up more detailed readings of Earth. The crew worked efficiently, gathering data about the planet's atmosphere, geology, and biosphere. Everything seemed routine until Officer Miller suddenly let out a sharp gasp. "Commander! You need to see these readings immediately." Ross moved swiftly to her station, all 4 of his eyes widening as he processed the data streaming across the screen. This can't be correct. Run the scans again." Officer Miller's tentacles trembled as she repeated the analysis. "Confirmed, sir. The readings are accurate." The commander's scaled skin paled visibly. "Show me everything." The main viewscreen filled with data about Earth's inhabitants. The humans, as they called themselves, had indeed achieved spaceflight capability, but that wasn't what caused the crew's growing horror. It was the other readings that defied belief. "They survive in an oxygen-rich atmosphere," Miller reported, her voice quavering. "Their planet's gravity is 1.3 times stronger than any other known civilized world. And their biology." She paused, struggling to continue. "They're endothermic, Commander. They maintain constant internal temperatures regardless of their environment." Ross felt his heart racing. "What about their physical capabilities? They can run for hours without stopping. Their bones are reinforced with calcium deposits that make them incredibly durable. They can survive extreme temperature variations that would kill most species. And their wound healing." Miller's voice dropped to a whisper. "They can regenerate damaged tissue." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. These humans weren't just another spacefaring race. They were something else entirely, creatures that had evolved on a death world, their bodies forged by millions of years of survival in conditions that would be lethal to most sentient species. Commander Ross made his decision instantly. Emergency protocol engaged. All crew to battle stations. Prepare for immediate withdrawal. "Sir," his second-in-command questioned. "What about first contact?" Ross turned all 4 eyes to his subordinate. "We are not prepared for this. No one in the Confederation is prepared for this. These humans, they're not just survivors. They're apex predators who conquered a planet that should have killed them. And now they're looking to the stars." The alien ship's engines flared to life, its crystalline surface shimming with energy as it prepared for emergency faster-than-light travel. As they fled, Ross ordered all data about Earth to be transmitted to Confederation headquarters with the highest priority warning classification. As their ship vanished into hyperspace, Ross knew this wouldn't be the end. The Confederation would have to prepare for the day humanity discovered they weren't alone in the universe. And when that day came, they would need to be ready, not for war, but for something perhaps even more terrifying, sharing the galaxy with a species that treated the impossible as merely an inconvenience to be overcome. The question wasn't if humanity would join the galactic community, but what changes they would bring to a civilization that had never encountered anything quite like them before. The Grand Chamber of the Confederation Council fell into stunned silence as Fleet Commander Ross finished presenting his report. The massive holographic display in the center of the room still showed Earth rotating slowly, looking deceptively peaceful against the backdrop of space. Council Leader Adams, her crystalline form catching the light, spoke first. "Commander, are you absolutely certain about these findings?" "Yes, Council Leader," Ross replied, all four of his eyes focused straight ahead. "The data has been verified multiple times. These humans don't just survive on their death world, they thrive there." The council chamber erupted in worried murmurs as new data appeared on the display. Images of human activities flashed before them, people climbing frozen mountains, diving into deep oceans, running through scorching deserts. They willingly put themselves in lethal situations, for entertainment, asked Counselor Baker, his metallic scales rattling with disbelief. "Correct," Officer Miller stepped forward, her tentacles gesturing at the display. "They call it extreme sports. But that's not the most concerning part." She brought up new readings. "Their military capabilities, while primitive by our standards, show a disturbing pattern of rapid advancement." The display showed the progression of human warfare through the centuries. The council members watched in horror as the timeline compressed thousands of years of military evolution into minutes. "They went from throwing sharpened sticks to splitting atoms in less than 10,000 years, Miller continued. "Their rate of technological advancement is unprecedented in all our records." Counselor Baker's voice shook. "How do they advance so quickly?" "It appears to be driven by their most terrifying trait," Ross answered. "Their adaptability. Humans don't just overcome challenges, they learn from them, improve upon them, and then actively seek out new ones. They're never satisfied with their current capabilities." The display shifted to show human medical procedures. Several council members had to look away. "They cut open their own bodies to repair themselves," Miller explained. "They replace damaged organs, mend broken bones with metal, and they've even begun manipulating their own genetic code. Their medical technology is primitive, but their willingness to experiment on themselves is unsettling." Council Leader Adams raised a crystalline appendage. "What about their psychological profile?" Ross activated a new set of data streams. "That's perhaps the most concerning element. Humans form intense social bonds and will go to extraordinary lengths to protect their group members. They display what we'd consider extreme emotional responses, yet they can suppress these emotions to achieve their goals. They're capable of both incredible acts of altruism and terrifying displays of aggression." "But surely they must have weaknesses," another counselor asked hopefully. "Their individual lifespans are relatively short," Miller offered. "But they compensate by passing knowledge down through generations and recording everything in their data networks. They learn from their ancestors' mistakes and continuously build upon previous achievements." The chamber fell silent again as the implications sank in. These humans weren't just dangerous because of their physical capabilities, they were dangerous because they were constantly striving to become even more capable. Council Leader Adams finally spoke again. "Commander Ross, your decision to withdraw was correct. We cannot risk first contact until we better understand these beings." She turned to address the full council. "I propose we establish a permanent observation post at the edge of their solar system. We must monitor their development and prepare appropriate protocols for the day they achieve interstellar travel." "And how long do we have?" Baker asked. Miller brought up a final set of projections. "Based on their current rate of technological advancement, less than 100 years. They're already planning missions to their neighboring planets." "Then we must act quickly," Adams declared. "We need to understand not just their capabilities, but their intentions. Are they peaceful explorers or potential conquerors? We must be prepared for either possibility." Ross stepped forward one last time. "There's one more thing, Council Leader. During our brief observation, we detected something that might be even more crucial than their physical or technological capabilities." He paused, making sure he had everyone's attention. "They tell stories, countless stories, about encountering alien life. And in many of these stories, they're not the ones who are afraid. They're the ones making first contact, reaching out to the stars. They don't just dream of meeting alien life, they're actively preparing for it." The implications weren't lost on anyone in the chamber. Humanity wasn't just a potential threat because of their capabilities, they were actively imagining and preparing for interstellar contact. And unlike the Confederation's careful, measured approach to expansion, humans seemed eager to rush headlong into the unknown. As the council session ended and emergency protocols were put into place, Ross couldn't shake the feeling that the Confederation's time as the dominant force in the galaxy might be coming to an end. Not because humanity would necessarily conquer them, but because these strange, resilient beings might change everything about how the galaxy worked. The question was no longer if humanity would join the galactic community, but whether the galactic community was ready for humanity. 3 years after the Confederation's hasty retreat, humanity made a discovery that would change everything. At a remote research station in Antarctica, a team of scientists was drilling through the ice when they found something that shouldn't have been there, the wreckage of an alien probe. Dr. James Walker stared at the object through the reinforced glass of the containment chamber. The metallic sphere, roughly the size of a car, seemed to shimmer with an inner light despite being powered down. Its crystalline surface was unlike any material known to Earth science. "What's the latest analysis?" he asked, not taking his eyes off the sphere. Dr. Brown, the head of materials science, consulted her tablet. "It's definitely not from Earth. The atomic structure of the outer shell doesn't match anything on our periodic table. And the internal components." She shook her head in amazement. "They're beyond anything we've ever seen." The discovery had been kept secret from the public while the world's top scientists worked to understand what they'd found. The pressure to maintain secrecy was immense. This wasn't just proof of alien life, it was proof that aliens had been watching Earth. "Show me the dating results again," Walker requested. Brown pulled up the data. "The ice layers surrounding the probe suggest it's been there for approximately 50 years. But here's the interesting part, we found damage consistent with weapons fire. Whatever this thing was, someone tried to shoot it down." Walker finally turned away from the containment chamber. "So we're not just dealing with aliens, we're dealing with aliens who didn't want to be detected. The question is, why?" In another part of the facility, a team of engineers was making a breakthrough of their own. They had managed to partially power up one of the probe's memory banks, and what they found was astounding. "Dr. Walker." A young engineer burst into the observation room. "You need to see this immediately." Walker and Brown followed him to the engineering lab, where holographic displays filled the air with alien text and diagrams. The translation algorithms they developed were working overtime to make sense of the data. "We've accessed their observational records," the engineer explained excitedly. "They've been studying us for decades, maybe longer. But look at this." He gestured to a particular set of data streams. "These are their assessments of human capabilities. They're afraid of us." The three scientists read through the translated documents with growing amazement. The aliens had catalogued human achievements, abilities, and potential with a mixture of scientific precision and what could only be described as terror. "They think we're some kind of super predators," Brown said, half laughing. "They're amazed we can survive in our own atmosphere. They call Earth a death world." Walker wasn't laughing. "Think about it from their perspective. We live on a planet with higher gravity than they're used to, in an oxygen-rich atmosphere that would be toxic to them. We can survive extreme temperature variations, recover from injuries that would kill them, and we've developed technology at a rate they find impossible to comprehend. But we're not monsters, the engineer protested. We're just human. Exactly, Walker replied. And that's what scares them the most. We do things they consider impossible without even realizing they're supposed to be impossible. Look at this entry, they're particularly disturbed by our space program. The holographic display showed footage from various space missions, annotated with alien commentary. The Confederation was both impressed and horrified by humanity's willingness to sit atop massive explosions just to reach orbit, to live in the vacuum of space protected by what they considered to be absurdly thin barriers, to walk on other worlds with only primitive protective suits. There's more, Brown said, scrolling through the data. They've been monitoring our broadcasts, our literature, our entertainment. They're fascinated by how much we speculate about alien life. But they seem particularly concerned about something they call our conquest drive. Walker leaned in to read the relevant section. The aliens had analyzed human history and noted humanity's constant push to explore, to expand, to overcome new challenges. They saw this trait not as curiosity or courage, but as an unstoppable force that would eventually drive humanity to the stars, and into conflict with the wider galactic community. Well, Walker said after a long moment, now we know why they ran when we detected their ship 3 years ago. They've been watching us develop, seeing our potential, and they're terrified of what we might do once we join them in space. So what do we do with this information? The engineer asked. Walker stared at the holographic displays, watching humanity's history through alien eyes. We prepare. They're out there, watching us, waiting to see what we'll do next. They think we're monsters, but we can prove them wrong. We can show them that our strength, our resilience, our drive to explore, these aren't things to be feared. They're gifts we can share with the galaxy. And if they don't want to be shared with? Brown asked quietly. Walker's expression hardened. Then we'll remind them why they were right to be cautious. Not because we're monsters, but because we protect what's ours. And now, knowing we're not alone, the entire human race is going to unite around a single goal, reaching the stars. As the scientists continued to study the alien data, satellites around Earth captured images of a brief energy signature at the edge of the solar system, another alien ship, watching, waiting, wondering what humanity would do with their newfound knowledge. The game of cat and mouse had begun. But in this game, humanity was neither cat nor mouse, they were something entirely new, something the galaxy had never seen before. And they were about to change everything. The United Nations Special Council for Extraterrestrial Affairs met in an underground facility beneath Geneva. Representatives from every major nation sat around a circular table, their faces illuminated by holographic projections of the data recovered from the alien probe. General Thompson stood at the center of the room, his weathered face serious as he addressed the assembly. Ladies and gentlemen, in the 6 months since we discovered the alien probe, we've made significant progress. Not only have we reverse-engineered some of their technology, but we've also discovered something even more valuable, their communication frequencies. The room erupted in excited murmurs. Dr. Walker, now serving as the chief scientific advisor to the council, stepped forward to join the general. Yes, we've cracked their basic communication protocols, Walker confirmed. And more importantly, we've located their observation post at the edge of our solar system. They're watching us right now, trying to determine if we found their probe. The Russian representative leaned forward. Then we should show them our strength. Let them know we've discovered their surveillance. With all due respect, Walker replied, that would be the worst thing we could do. Remember what we learned from their data, they already think we're potentially dangerous. If we respond aggressively, we'll only confirm their fears. The Chinese representative spoke next. What do you propose instead? Walker gestured, and new holographs appeared, technical schematics for what appeared to be a satellite. We send them a message, but not the kind they're expecting. We show them who we really are. Over the next hour, Walker outlined a plan that would change humanity's relationship with the cosmos forever. The world's nations would unite to build something unprecedented, a satellite designed specifically to communicate with the alien observers. "We call it Project Handshake," Walker explained. "Instead of weapons or threats, we'll launch a satellite carrying examples of human culture, scientific achievements, and most importantly, our desire for peaceful contact." "And if they respond with hostility?" the American representative asked. General Thompson stepped back in. "We'll be prepared for that too. While Project Handshake proceeds openly, we'll quietly continue developing defensive capabilities based on the technology we've recovered. But we don't show those cards unless we absolutely have to." The next 3 months saw humanity unite like never before. Under the cover of a new International Space Station module, the world's top engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to build the Handshake satellite. They loaded it with carefully chosen messages of peace, scientific data showing humanity's understanding of the universe, and cultural artifacts demonstrating human creativity and compassion. But they also included something else, something Dr. Walker had insisted upon. The satellite carried detailed medical and biological data about humans, directly addressing the aliens' fears. "Yes, we can survive conditions they find horrifying," Walker explained to the Council. "Yes, we've developed rapidly, and yes, we're capable of incredible feats of survival. But we want them to understand that these abilities don't make us monsters, they make us unique. We don't want to conquer the galaxy. We want to explore it, learn from it, and perhaps even protect those who haven't evolved with our advantages." The day of the launch arrived. As the world watched what they believed was a routine space station resupply mission, the Handshake satellite rode alongside the official payload. Once in orbit, it quietly separated and began its long journey to the edge of the solar system. In the Confederation observation post, Commander Ross's successor, Commander Davis, detected the approaching object. His sensor operators tracked its trajectory with growing concern. "It's definitely from Earth," Officer Wilson reported, her tentacles moving nervously across the control panel. "But it's not following any of their usual satellite patterns. It's heading directly for us." Davis watched the main screen intently. "Weapons? None detected. But..." Wilson paused, her instruments picking up something unexpected. "Sir, it's broadcasting. On our frequencies." The alien crew fell silent as the first message began to play. It started with simple mathematical equations, humanity proving their understanding of universal constants. Then came biology, chemistry, physics, humanity demonstrating their knowledge while simultaneously acknowledging how much more there was to learn. But it was the final part of the message that truly shocked them. The humans had included a direct response to the Confederation's fears, addressing each concern with honesty and even humor. "Yes, we climb mountains for fun," the message admitted. "Yes, we dive into oceans and jump from great heights. We push our limits not because we're bloodthirsty or aggressive, but because we believe in constantly improving ourselves. We're not the monsters you think we are. We're explorers, dreamers, and innovators. And we're ready to meet you." Commander Davis stared at the message for a long time before making his decision. This wasn't the response anyone in the Confederation had expected. These humans, these Death World inhabitants who could survive almost anything, weren't threatening war or demanding recognition. They were extending a hand in friendship while fully acknowledging why they might be feared. "Send everything to the Council," Davis ordered. "And prepare a response transmission. I think it's time we stopped hiding." As the alien ship prepared to break its long silence, back on Earth, Dr. Walker stood in the control room watching the satellite's telemetry. He smiled as the first return signal was detected. "Well," he said to no one in particular, "I guess sometimes the best way to deal with someone's fear is to face it head-on." The response from the stars was about to change everything, not because humanity had proved they weren't dangerous, but because they had proved they were something far more interesting. They were unique, powerful, and yet humble enough to extend a hand in peace despite their strength. The Grand Chamber of the Confederation Council looked very different from the last time Commander Ross had stood there. Now, 5 years after humanity's discovery of the probe, the chamber held something unprecedented, a human delegation. Dr. Walker stood calmly at the center of the chamber, though his heart raced with excitement. Beside him, General Thompson and 3 other human representatives faced the assembled alien council. The humans wore specially designed environmental suits to protect them from the chamber's alien atmosphere, making them look even more imposing to the gathered aliens. Council Leader Adams spoke first, her crystalline form shifting colors as she addressed the assembly. 3 years ago, we received humanity's message of peace. Today, we take the first step toward a new era of cooperation. Walker stepped forward, the subtle whir of his suit's systems echoing in the chamber. On behalf of Earth, we thank you for finally accepting our invitation to meet. We understand your initial fears. Our worlds are very different, and our capabilities might seem threatening. But we hope to show you that our strength can be an asset to the galactic community. Commander Ross, now serving as Chief of Security for the Council, watched the humans with a mixture of apprehension and fascination. The beings he had fled from years ago still radiated the same incredible potential for power, but now he saw something else, a measured control, a deliberate gentleness in their movements. We have reviewed your proposal, Adams continued. Your suggestion to serve as guardians rather than conquerors is intriguing. But some council members have concerns about giving humans such responsibility. General Thompson spoke up, his voice firm but diplomatic. We're not asking for authority over anyone. We're offering to help protect those who might need it. Our ability to survive in extreme conditions means we can go places others can't, help people others can't reach. The council chamber filled with murmurs as Thompson's words were translated. The idea of using humanity's terrifying capabilities for protection rather than dominance was revolutionary to many of the assembled species. There's something else, Walker added, activating a holographic display. We've been studying the data from your probe, and we've made some discoveries that might interest you. The display showed a series of medical and technological innovations. Human scientists had already begun adapting their unique biological advantages into solutions that could benefit other species. Enhanced environmental suits based on human temperature regulation, new medical techniques inspired by human healing capabilities, and construction methods that took advantage of humanity's experience with high gravity. We don't just want to be your guardians, Walker explained. We want to be your partners. Yes, we evolved on what you call a death world. Yes, we can survive things that would kill most species. But that doesn't make us monsters, it makes us uniquely qualified to help. Commander Ross found himself nodding slowly. He remembered his terror upon first discovering human capabilities, but now he saw those same traits in a new light. The very things that had frightened him could indeed become the Confederation's greatest assets. Council Leader Adams raised her appendage for silence. Dr. Walker, your people have surprised us at every turn. We feared you would be conquerors, yet you offer partnership. We thought you would demand power, yet you seek cooperation. Perhaps. She paused, her crystalline form shimmering, perhaps we were wrong to flee from Earth that day. No, Walker smiled behind his faceplate. You were right to be cautious. Any species that doesn't fear the unknown isn't wise enough to survive. But there's a difference between caution and paranoia, between respect and terror. We're ready to show you that difference. The formal ceremony that followed was broadcast across Earth and throughout the Confederation's territory. Humanity was officially recognized not as a threat to be contained, but as a unique and valuable addition to the galactic community. Their role would be special, part explorers, part guardians, part innovators, using their extraordinary capabilities to help rather than harm. As the ceremony concluded, Commander Ross approached Dr. Walker privately. I need to ask, when you found our probe, when you realized how we saw you, weren't you angry? Walker considered the question carefully. At first, some of us were. But then we realized something important. Your fear of us came from a lack of understanding, just as our fear of being alone in the universe came from the same place. Once we understood each other better, fear could become respect. Ross's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. And now? Are you not concerned about how other species still view you? Let them be concerned, Walker replied with a gentle smile. We'll prove ourselves through actions, not words. Every time we help evacuate a colony from a high-gravity world where others can't survive, every time we assist in exploring a hostile environment that would kill other species, every time we use our terrifying capabilities to protect rather than destroy, we'll show the galaxy what humanity truly is. As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth, Council Leader Adams made one final announcement. The Confederation would establish its first official embassy on Earth, complete with special environmental controls to protect the alien diplomats from Earth's deadly environment. In return, humanity would begin sharing their survival techniques and protective technologies with other species. Commander Ross watched the humans depart, remembering his panic-stricken flight from Earth years ago. He had been right about one thing: humanity would indeed change everything about how the galaxy worked. But not through conquest or terror, as he had feared. They would change it by turning what everyone else saw as weaknesses into strengths, by facing the impossible and finding ways to make it possible, and by showing that the most powerful beings in the galaxy could also be its greatest protectors. The species that had evolved on a death world, that had survived against impossible odds, that had terrified the Confederation with their mere existence, had proven to be exactly what the galaxy needed, not because they were the strongest, but because they understood that true strength lay in how you used your power. And as humanity took its first steps into the wider galaxy, they carried with them a simple message: sometimes, the most frightening thing in the universe isn't what might hurt you, it's what might help you in ways you never imagined possible.